Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to dive into coping mechanisms that get labeled, coping mechanisms that are actually symptoms that oftentimes get mislabeled. Watch this video. Hey guys, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, please click the subscribe button and the bell to receive notifications when I release new videos. And if you've been with me for a while, thank you so much and welcome back. Diving in, I just got off my Truth Room call, my monthly membership of highly sensitive people around the world, and we were diving into this topic of symptoms, coping mechanisms that oftentimes get diagnosed. Think about this. I have so many clients who've had diagnoses that don't feel right for them. And I ask them to go into what they're doing. And every single time I hear a story, I'm saying, well, of course you have those symptoms. You were traumatized. But what this society does is it puts a stigma on you and a label and a disorder and all these things that are nothing more than symptoms of an unhealed wound. Oftentimes. I had a new client come to me recently who was diagnosed with bipolar. And the interesting thing is, when she told me her story, I said bipolar or trauma response because trauma reacts in extremes. Bipolar is bipolarity of emotion and behavior. Think about it. So right when I said that to her, she was like, you get it. That's exactly right. I'm not going to say her trauma. She had major traumas during her lifetime. And her coping mechanisms led her to this label because she didn't have anyone there to help her understand, regulate, and dissolve this unhealed issue. So instead, we medicate problems, we drink away problems, we try to get away from the pain that we don't know how to heal that's causing the symptoms that gets you diagnosed. This is my belief. I've seen it with myself, 7 years old. Trauma in the household. I can't focus. I got ADHD and some medication. Years later, when I learned how to actually deal with this on my own, I no longer took medication. From age 17 on, I've been on nothing and I've had no symptoms of attention deficit because my attention is no longer deficit because it's busy dealing with trauma. Now it can be on me and what I'm really into. Think about these symptoms, these labels. When we're given a label and a stigma and we're told, oh, you just have this, that's what's wrong with you. What's so infuriating about that is it's what's wrong with me because of what happened that was wrong in my world. I often say mental illness can also be seen as spiritual dis-ease. Highly sensitive people are known to have, let's say, labels that they outgrow when they start to heal, or they have labels that they own as their identity and then walk around with shame and fear of shining. Because I have this thing that's wrong with me and this symptom comes up and I get triggered and I have this inability to regulate myself. Well, of course you do. What happened in your life? So the first thing that I ask someone when they come to my room, I say, all right, the truth room. I say, okay, tell me what happened, not what's going on now. What happened to you? Well, it doesn't really matter what I'm doing. It does matter because all of your symptoms are an accumulation of unresolved wounding. Why am I so passionate about emotional healing? Because if emotions are not healed, integrated, and shifted, they come up to take us out of our authentic self. We cannot be our authentic self when we have all these triggers and symptoms coming up all the time because that's not who you are. That's a reflection of what you've experienced. And when you're highly sensitive and you have a ton of deep emotions that people don't know how to help you regulate, you fall into overwhelm and you're just looking for someone to help you. I had a client, it was actually last week, who has a rage disorder. And I was like, a rage disorder? Let's talk about what's so enraging in your experience. He has no memories before the age of 11. No memories. I said, okay, that's trauma. So the rage is a symptom of a trauma that's not even being validated. And what happens to us as children when we have these emotions and we have these things that happen to us and the people don't know how to deal with our symptoms of the issue, We're dysregulated. We don't know how to get regulated. And then we just have to bury it and deal with it instead of heal it. And if that goes on for enough time, then more trauma happens because the original trauma, the original wound was not healed. Now we get more labels because it's compounded trauma. I'm really not a fan of labels. I really look at what happened to create the symptoms and the coping mechanisms that got you the label. But people take this on as an identity, and we take so much time these days, right? To undo that shame-based identity, that disordered identity, to really look at who you are and how you process something and how you've dealt with something. How we relate to the issue is the issue. If you're relating with rage, well, the rage is the issue. The problem that happened to create the rage is the issue. It's not you that is an issue, but it is now creating an issue for you. One of the biggest blocks to being who you authentically are is judging your symptoms as an identity, judging your symptoms as a disorder or a label. Let's look at the fact that you are a divine being having a human experience. And in this human experience that is far wounded, when people can't take responsibility for what they do to you and you don't know what to do with that, it becomes a you issue, but it's really not. The scapegoat child is a child. Think about the black sheep. The black sheep took everyone's issues on, and it turned black from all the darkness from everybody else who went scot-free in their white sheep coat. And this one's black, and it gets cast aside because it looks different, but the reason it looks different is because it just took on all your shit. Labels. Look deeper into your symptom. Why is it there? Let's start validating it. Why, as a child, why couldn't I focus? What was going on? It wasn't a brain issue. It was an environment issue that didn't go well with my sensitivity. A lot of people come to me and they ask me about borderline personality. Candace, do you think I have that? And I'm like, well, let's talk about your life. What is the symptom? In my opinion, the spiritual diagnosis of borderline is a very highly sensitive person who's very traumatized, who's been very much abandoned. So your identity is borderline. You don't know. You have extreme reactions to abandonment. You have extreme reactions to rejection because you had an original wound of abandonment and you're very sensitive and misunderstood and totally invalidated. This is my experience with many clients that I've had that have come to me and start to truly heal when they are validated and feel safe and can understand the truth of who they are. They didn't have to abandon the self to stay connected to toxic systems. Looking at the symptoms, the coping mechanisms that you've had to endure because the original wound was invalidated and not seen for what it truly was, of something happening to you that created symptoms in you so you can be your authentic self. Healing these emotional wounds means coming back into the truth of who you are so you can actually feel that way, think that way, see yourself that way, and then act accordingly. Instead of acting out of these triggers, these unhealed wounds, to take you away from your authentic self again and get you a label that has nothing to do with your truth. It has to do with the symptoms of what has happened. If this is calling to you, please leave me a comment in the comment box below. Please check out Emotional Rehab. It is launching now. We start in March. All the other things that I have offering, please check it out. Please share this video with one person you think it could help. I love you guys, and I'll see you soon.